Welcome to Motivation Local, a podcast where we discuss how place impacts identity. All of this made possible with support from TELUS STORYHIVE. Lived experience not only shapes how people view a community, but also how they view themselves. The sum of these experiences and memories form a narrative about a community. It's at the intersection of this that we seek to explore how these experiences and memories shape individuals. How has their community motivated them? And perhaps how have they motivated their community? I'm Corey Sadlemyer, host of Motivation Local. Our focus this season will be my hometown, Medicine Hat, Alberta. Through a collection of stories, our goal will be to generate an informative sketch about Medicine Hat through the eyes of a small sample of its members. Some of our guests will be born and raised here, some will be former residents that have ventured off to new places, and some will be people who have come to call Medicine Hat home. Each will provide their own reflections on place and identity. Our hope is that this provides you with time to reflect on your hometown, wherever you live. In a story about place, I would be remiss to not acknowledge the land that inspires this show. This coolly carved corridor that intersects what has become Treaty 7 and Treaty 4 land, a meeting place for the Blackfoot and the Cree for centuries, and the home of the Métis as well. Lastly, I would like to emphasize that this podcast is separate from my role at Medicine Hat Public School Division. It is, however, about celebrating the community in which I live and work in, and as with any small community, there will be an intersection of guests and roles that reference my work with the school division. Our guest today is Dianne Wilkins. Di is a born and raised Hatter who went on to spend good portions of her life in Alabama, Sweden, New York, California, and of course, Alberta. Her sense of place will be something we will explore in depth today. Dianne spent 15 years as the CEO of Critical Mass, a global digital agency. Most recently, she has completed a fellowship at Harvard in the Advanced Leadership Program and has focused on several projects she has initiated over the years. This includes, but is not limited to, the Norma Fund, a private investment fund designed to empirically prove the value of female leadership. She is also a founding member of G23, a consultancy group designed to address the unrealized potential of the global female economy. In short, Dianne is a big deal, but she won't even try to come across that way. Her Canadian and Medicine Hat roots will shine through today as we hear about her connections and memories to our community. All right, welcome to the show, Di.
Thanks, Corey.
We were just talking that we go quite a ways back, and it's weird to not only be interviewed by somebody that you know for a long, long time. It's weird to interview somebody that you've known for a long, long time because it isn't necessarily normal.
No, and you probably know a lot of the answers already.
Oh, not all of them.
Well, we'll find out.
Yes. There's a little trivia game built into this in the background. Okay. All right. So I'm hoping to cover a lot of ground today. And showed you the little intro that we have for the start of the show. Some of the things you've been up to more recently. So I thought let's start there because as you get to be our age, it's easier to remember the more recent things than the older things, and we can do a warm up. So recently retired, went back to school, sort of thing. Tell us a little bit about that transition for you.
Sure. Well, I stepped down from my critical mass job at the end of 2020, which was like scraping through the end of that first COVID year. And I still work a little bit at Critical Mass as a chair, mostly mentoring strategic talent, that sort of thing. Working with Chris, who's the new CEO. And I also do some consulting and some investing and some advising and that sort of thing. So really just a portfolio of smaller kind of engagements and projects. I noticed you mentioned the Norma Fund, and that's something that we just had our 10th anniversary of the Norma Fund, which is a private investment group, an activist investment group, and we invest only in female-led, female CEOs in the Russell 1000. So it's a public company, publicly traded companies that we built a private portfolio to try and demonstrate that female leadership outperforms the average. and that is exactly what our data has proven over the last 10 years. It's not a tremendous lift these days because it's up and running and doing quite well. I did take a year last calendar year, and went to Harvard as a advanced leadership initiative fellow, which was just like the coolest experience ever. Very once in a lifetime kind of thing. It's a program for people, I guess, like me, but fancier, cooler than me, that have 20 plus years leadership experience in some kind of career. And after that, want to kind of go back to school, reset, learn a little bit about social impact and how to have more of a social impact, or retool some of their skills for social impact, and to meet, like-minded people and people from all different places around the world. And it was just life-changing. Right.
And you've stayed connected to that program a little bit.
Yeah,
well?
I have. They assembled an advisory board coming out of. There was a new faculty chair that came on halfway through our year, and he's put together a new board for the program, made up of people from the different cohorts. So I've been appointed to the board, and this is breaking news, Corey.
Oh,
I was just asked to serve on the executive committee of that board as well.
Wow.
So I think I have a 4 or 5 year term. And I'll be on the EC of that too, which I don't even know exactly what that entails because it's really, really recent.
Wow. And so will you get to meet the new people who come into the program? Or
Yeah, once or twice a year, they have events where they invite prior cohorts back, so anybody can go, but we also piggyback our board meetings on top of that. So I was there in May, I'll be there in December, and we, do our board stuff and then also participate in the full big scale programming with the current class and other people from other years as well. Yeah. It's really cool.
Only sort of retired, really.
Yeah, I found, and I can't remember if I sent this to you or not, but I stumbled on this article in the Washington Post maybe 6 months ago, and it was the gist of it was, I left my high fancy profile job.
Right.
But don't you dare call me retired.
Right.
I just, he referred to himself as post-achievement, and that everything, it doesn't mean he's not going to do anything, but whatever he's going to do is going to be because he wants to do it. So, I kind of don't have to prove anything to myself or to anybody else. And it really struck a few chords with me because it really is a little bit of my, part of me feels like I'm floundering and part of me feels like I'm luxuriating. And I think I flip-flop by the minute roughly on how I feel about those things. But that it kind of summed it up for me is I'm not going to do stuff out of obligation or out of, I don't know, a desire to prove my value through whatever, my salary or my title or my whatever it is, scope of my job. It's going to be more things that mean things to me for different reasons.
Yeah. When we were visiting with you about 6 weeks ago there in Patty Dibski, she talked about career harvesting, harvesting your career.
Right.
So I gained all these skills throughout. Now, how am I going to parlay that into other things? And it might not necessarily be financial things, but
no, most of mine aren't. But yeah. But they're it's learning and trying to find sort of passion spots and places. I mean, I think for me the biggest thing I'm still wrestling with and was moving from just an incredibly team-oriented organization. Even though you're the CEO and that's a lonely job and all that kind of stuff, I had amazing people to work with all day long, every day, and all different disciplines. They were all expert in something that I wasn't. And so to go from that to sort of being solo and not having a built-in team, not even necessarily having collaborators for a lot of these kind of projects, because there are a lot more solo things that I've been doing lately. It's interesting. I've struggled sometimes with motivation because I'm not letting anyone else down. Yeah. And apparently I need that driver sometimes. But again, I also go back to, but I'm also kind of luxuriating. I mean, it's kind of nice to be able to watch a lot of Olympics and think back to the number of Olympics I missed entirely because I was working,
So I on a show that's about place and identity, if you think about that changing identity, you would have identified you as someone who brings people together and all of those pieces. Has that been a challenge for you? Have you felt that impact?
I mean, I'm still pretty good at rallying the troops or assembling the team or planning the social events or all that kind of stuff. When I do, I'm kind of less doing that professionally. But yeah, I think a little bit. Well, I've been spending more time alone, which I actually kind of like. I mean, I was exhausted. By the time I got through, that COVID year was like the last bits and pieces of energy that I had. I think went into that job in 2020, and by the end, I was just wiped out. And then Harvard last year was very, very intense. It was again magical, but it was intense, and back living in a student apartment and all that kind of thing, and walking everywhere and dealing with winter, which I've been in California the last few years, so that felt new in a not good way. So yeah, I don't know. The identity's still in there somewhere, but it's very on and off in a way that it didn't used to be. So
I'm going to shift that a little bit then to place, and kind of working backwards here on the time scale. And I was thinking you bring an interesting perspective here in thinking about how place can impact identity, because you have lived in Palm Springs, you have lived in Mobile, Alabama, you have lived in Manhattan, you have lived in Stockholm, you have lived in Calgary, you've spent a year now in Boston. Yeah. I'm sure, well, I know all of those places have their own identity to themselves, but thinking about how, as an outsider observer of that at first, and then thinking about how each of those places or one or two of those places impacted who you are and how you think.
Yeah, I mean, I would say there's no doubt, like I left Medicine Hat to go to school to Mobile I went to actually Pullman, Washington for a year before that. I always forget that one too, but went to the U.S. for college on a golf scholarship, and so left when I was 18. Still came back for summers and that sort of stuff, as we know. I'm here now, family here, but. Where you're from, I think, through that age has to shape you to a certain extent. And I was thinking about that a little bit. It's the only real prep I did, no offense, for the podcast, because I didn't know what you were going to ask me. But I mean, I think being from a place like this that feels, especially considering all those other places I lived, like it feels pretty remote and it feels pretty like into itself. And I don't want to say it gave me like a chip on my shoulder, but it's sort of, I mean, I definitely always wanted to get out of Medicine Hat. I was always questing for something more, and I don't know where that came from, or that's just me or what. But I was always going to go somewhere. And I don't know. There was the other big place I really ever sort of felt something different because of the place was New York. And being a CEO of a very successful company, living a really nice life in Manhattan, and providing for a family and all that other kind of stuff, I had a real contrast of the two. Like, I felt extreme pride in being just a girl from Medicine Hat, kicking ass in the big city. And I remember talking to Sarah, our mutual sister-in-law, who works with me, because she's also a girl from Medicine Hat who was kicking ass in the big city, and just having some moments where we're like, holy crap, look how far we've come, and it really did. I mean, New York, I came many times to visit, but it's such an interesting place. Like, it really feels like where everything's happening, and so to be a part of that and feel comfortable in that, it was maybe a little bit of proof to me that I wasn't wrong in wanting, in always looking for more, because apparently I thrive in that much intensity in the environment.
I asked the producer Turner here before.
I've met him once or twice.
Well, what would you want to know? What would you want to ask? And I think it's along those lines. Like, as a 17-year-old thinking about my future, I was thinking Di's going to say something like, I was just waiting to get out of town. And I didn't, chip on my shoulder wasn't the phrase that came to my mind.
Yeah.
But I think I wrote something about it. There's a piece of irony in that the community grew up on that many people have that feeling, right, of wanting to leave their hometown and go out there.
Right.
Contributes to that striving, that will, that determination to do something. And then when you get there, you go, see, I could do it,
Yeah,
right? And so it actually inadvertently contributes to it, I guess.
Right. Well, I mean, when you think about all the people that have come from, Manhattan social circle of gazillions of dollars and prep schools, and have all these steps up into a world I ended up living in, and to feel like you really rolled up your sleeves and did it yourself, kind of thing, and didn't have any of the I have a wonderful upbringing here and everything, but not exactly 10 steps ahead of everybody else.
Right.
It's sort of a you are what you make of yourself kind of thing, and I mean, so much of that for me was I was so fortunate to find this end up fluky getting into this job and finding these amazing people to work with, and collectively feeling like we could conquer the world, kind of thing. And when I started at Critical Mass, I went to Sweden for a couple of years, but then came back, and we were this smaller company from Calgary, agency from Calgary, competing against the biggest, baddest, most talented, most revered agencies in the world that were all based in New York or Silicon Valley or London. And that exact same little engine that could kind of drive and grit and determination that I think we get out of coming from Medicine Hat and trying to make it out in the world, we had as a group coming from Calgary and trying to make it in this world that didn't even know where, couldn't find Calgary on a map,
So you
it was
think,
good.
is it a fluke or a knack? So what I'm thinking about is you, from what I can see, you have always found a way to surround yourself with a group of people that you stay connected with for a long time. Your group of high school friends that you still probably see on an annual basis, for sure.
At least, yeah.
Other friendship groups in that same way, the corporate level. I think I see that as a knack.
That part I'll give you. I think it's part of I'm the rallier, but I've got my high school friends, my college friends, my all these different times in my career and different groups for sure. And now my Harvard group is another awesome friend group to keep in touch with, and I prioritize that. It matters a lot to me. So everyone always responds really well to those things. It's if someone doesn't kind of take the initiative, then those groups can also kind of fritter away a little bit too.
Right, yeah.
So I think I've just been the initiative one, but I did definitely kind of fluke into the job and the industry and the right time. I mean, the wild west of internet and all that sort of thing. It really was. I didn't aim for that. That just happened to be where I went because I wanted to go to Europe. I mean, it was not strategic at all in terms of digital marketing and what it was, but it sure turned out to be just pretty meaningful in terms of my life and career and friends and experience and travel. It was great.
So the rallier, I'm trying to picture like a 6-year-old Di making a lemonade stand and giving jobs to all the kids in the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And so I
that group doesn't really keep in touch with me. I got a little more polish as I aged into 9-10.
Do you think did that come from your mom and dad, or was that a
I think
show them kind of thing?
No,
or?
it was definitely not intent. I just I've been asked many times when did you know you were a leader? I'm like, birth, I think. It just always. I just went for taking charge. And my dad's like that too,
sure,
and was, and I remember at one point, I don't know, it was probably in high school or something, my mom saying to me, "Your dad's never joined anything. He immediately becomes president." And then as I look back over sort of my life, I'm like, oh, I guess that is a chip off the old block in terms of, I'm a terrible follower, Corey.
No.
You may have run into that once or twice. I'm not a great follower. So I think I'm just kind of comfortable with the personal responsibility and with what I believe is a clear path that, may not be the clearest path, but it's clear to me.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, and you can process those things fairly quickly too, right? Like what might be the path.
Yeah.
Right? And
I think so, yeah. I would say that it's something I didn't really realize until it's not that I didn't realize it. I wasn't really conscious of how much decision making is a really imperative leadership skill, and how I was quite good at it. And it was after I'd retired and looking back and thinking, oh yeah, when you've got lousy information or half the information you need or conflicting information, and you still have to make a call that could impact 100 people's jobs, or those kinds or much smaller things. You got to make a call. I mean, in a lot of times, the worst thing you could do is not make a decision, right? And I see that around me in lots of different places. Just the inability to kind of make the call and live by the call and take ownership of that call. And if the call's wrong, admit it and apologize and make a different call and move on.
Right.
And that also just was something I think. I don't know if I always had that or developed it without really realizing it, but by the end, I could tell that I was pretty good at that.
That isn't a course.
No,
yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think so. Also, other than Harvard, because it was last year and amazing, I don't really remember anything I ever was taught about business or any of that stuff. I remember when I did my MBA, thinking just how incredibly common sense it all was. That said, I don't remember much. 4 Ps.
Decision making 101.
Yeah, I definitely didn't take that. No. It's a great life skill though too.
Yeah. So thinking of Medicine Hat, what's one of your first memories of this place?
This is the one question I knew you were going to ask me.
Oh, yeah?
And I'm glad I knew in advance, because what a hard question. I mean, the first, like it being Medicine Hat, right?
Yeah.
Like not just where I grew up or the house or the family or whatever. The first thing that comes to mind for me, and there's a really specific picture, but was being maybe around 4 and going to the parade. And it was the Medicine Hat Stampede Parade, right? And it was very much, I don't know, for me too, as a 4, like I was also wearing a cowboy hat. So it was the hat, the medicine hat. I don't know. That to me, and I there's just the cutest picture ever of me and Paul Lerner sitting on the curb down at the Stampede Parade with our little cowboy hats on, looking so cute. But I remember the day. I remember the whole thing, and that sort of strikes me as the first time I can sort of articulate Medicine Hat in my mind.
Did you ever go to the Kiddies Parade?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Did you ever go in the Kiddies Parade?
I did not go in the Kiddies Parade.
Did you ever make a cardboard cutout of a horse and tape it to your bicycle?
No.
And go in the Kiddies Parade?
I did not.
Wearing your bowling hat.
Did you?
I don't know. Those are very specific references. Maybe somebody did that.
Somebody must have done that for sure. Yeah. No horse cutouts on my my orange banana seat bike. No, that wouldn't have looked as cool as my orange banana seat bike. That, of course, my brother and I had matching orange banana. Yeah, except I had the girls' bar and he had the whatever. Okay, that caused him a lot more pain than mine caused me. I'll tell you that much.
I was thinking of a couple landmark places and just your response to some of those. Riverside water slide.
God. I did go to Riverside water slide a few times. It wasn't really my scene. It wasn't really my big thing.
Yeah, it wasn't mine either.
No, I've literally, like, since I was 10, 12, as soon as I was aware of the world, never have I been comfortable in a bathing suit since. But also, I didn't have the need for speed. I certainly didn't have a need to be like seen in that kind of way. So it wasn't really my big thing.
Swirls.
Oh, Swirls is awesome. I worked there for a few years. As we were driving down here, I'm like, well, we're going to have to go see if the stick on the mud is still on the menu because I invented it. Working for either 2 or 3 summers. It also kind of derailed my attempt to be a professional golfer, as you know. The cooler was set so high with the hard ice cream scooping thing that I actually ended up with chronic tendonitis in both wrists from scooping ice cream in the summer job.
Nobody ever thinks about that as a workplace hazard.
No, I know. I mean, you think, OSHA or comp, I should be like getting workman's comp from the Swirls owners from back in, 1985. Swirls is great. And I lived right there too, so it was. Right. I mean, it was I remember when it was Dairy Queen, and then Dairy Queen moved, and Swirls took over.
Connaught Golf Club.
Well, it's like home. I think I spent as much time. I spent more time at Connaught for sure than I did at the high school that I went to for 6 years, like 7 through 12.
Yeah.
The only place I spent more time was home, probably. But yeah, I mean, we had such a good group. This is where obviously we became such good friends. Right. But such a good group of people, and it was Brenda Wickyard and I and 20 guys, which it's right in my comfort zone, and close to so many of them still, and it was just awesome. I mean, I worked there, pro shop and grounds crew. Yeah. My friends were there. We got into trouble there. And golfed a ton. Yeah, it was great. We were
talking with a group of friends a couple weeks ago, and like, what's your favorite memories of golf, or like those kinds of things, or what would you like to recreate? And I said it was like, I don't know, a Sunday night. We're like 15, 16 years old. There's like 13 of us playing in a 13-some
on the 9th hole, right. Teeing off, and we were trying to time it. I totally remember that. Yeah. Sun's coming, like we're trying to beat the dark.
Yeah, it feels like the world can last forever.
Yeah, totally. And then the coveted ugly jacket,
right?
Our annual Connaught Masters.
Yeah,
that was critical, too. Yeah, those were good days.
High school, you're at Hat High, but you went on a exchange or?
I did.
I was actually only thought of that today.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about that too. I have another friend I keep in touch with. In 11th grade, I went on the 3-month Quebec exchange. So I got sent to a little town called Daubeau that was 2 hours north of Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean on February 1st. I've never seen that much snow in my life. I mean, literally, we got there at 2 o'clock in the morning or something because we could fly to Quebec City, and then we had to go somewhere else and then get bused and whatever. And driving in, and you couldn't see houses or anything. It was just tunnels, snow tunnels. And there was still snow on the ground when I was going home at the beginning of May. But yeah, that was also just me kind of wanting to get out, wanting to try new stuff, wanting to go other places. Yeah. I mean, I took French all along, but that was it was more about shaking it up. I don't know. I was just impatient. I wasn't opposed, or I was too small and I had too much energy to burn in some way, shape, or form that required more space.
Yeah. So that feeling of wanting to get out there, we talked about that at the start. As well. Any other parts you feel like your hometown contributed to your identity?
I mean, certainly, I think confidence. I mean, confidence has got to be one of the strongest attributes I ever had to work with, and big part of me being able to achieve some of the things that I achieved. And I definitely think some of that's certainly coming from my parents. I don't know, but I knew people here, and right from, again, this probably goes back to the golf course as much as the whole city, right. But even as a young kid, I mean, I knew people. I talked to adults when I was 8. I was really comfortable talking and hanging out with adults when I was 14. There is that, probably a lot of the things that drove me crazy, like feeling like all eyes were on you kind of thing in a smaller city like this, were some of the things that also let you be, let it matter that I was student council president, or it became part of, or good at golf, or, good in sports, or honor roll, whatever. I don't know, that it was, for me, it was quite easy to feel quite successful here and have that build on itself, I think, as I move forward to other things in my life. I mean, I see especially women, I think it's everybody, but especially women in their careers, and I've seen some of the most talented women ever, and just not go as far or work 10 times harder than I wish they had to, because of a lack of confidence, or a lack of confidence in some scenarios, or a lack of comfort in standing up and talking to strangers, or public speaking, or any of those kinds of things that I actually think, for me, being pretty extroverted and pretty aggressively attempting to be successful anyway, like competitive and doing everything I could as a kid, I think I got good feedback from Medicine Hat because of the size of the city and the nature of, my dad having a little bit of prominence, not massive, but a little bit in the city, and being like the Wilkins kid, that kind of thing. Yeah. I think that worked for me. I could see it absolutely not working for somebody else, but it fed me in a good way.
So then, has that been a driver for you in that other work with the Norma Fund, and that's there's the investment aspect to that too, but I guess on the other side too, with some of the other work.
I think my whole career and a lot of what I do now has been geared certainly to developing talent across the board, but especially women and younger women that just I think it's also the way things have changed over since we were kids even to now, in terms of women in charge and parity, the failing quest for parity thus far between women and men professionally, and from a compensation standpoint. So I kind of believe it's my job as a woman in a leadership position to help develop all the women around me. But it's also, my privilege. So a lot of the things, Omni Women and G23 and some of the other things that I did in conjunction with other female leaders within the company that owned Critical Mass, we were trying to build these networks to help the next generation of female leaders get mentoring, get confident, get exposure to things. Half that game is information. And the more you know, the more you realize you can get comfortable in that situation, right? The unknowns are often the daunting part. So I would say yes, and I do a lot of that now. I mentor a lot of women. I unofficially mentor a lot of women. I've coached a lot of really incredible women in my career within Critical Mass and beyond. And I'm pretty sure I always will.
And how about for you, who have been those female mentors?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I wondered if you were going to ask me about.
I wasn't going to ask that.
Mentors or anything. And I really always kind of struggled with the mentor thing. I didn't really have one. I guess the closest thing was kind of to my dad, but more like I'm a bit like that than him actively ever like coaching me or being home. He was busy, and I'm not sure that would have worked with my temperament and his anyway if there was active coaching. Sorry, where was I?
Mentors,
mentors. So when I was a couple years before I moved to New York, I want to say maybe 15, 20 years ago, I'd already been CEO for 5 years. 15 years ago. Yeah, I'd been CEO for a couple of years, certainly senior executive for a number of years. And I had gotten to know a woman at Omnicom who was older than me and had come up through sort of the advertising ranks. And she'd never really been the CEO, but she'd led different pieces of business and was just this really, really cool woman. and very, came very New York. I mean, and her name was Janet Riccio, and she's actually the woman I created she and I created the Norma Fund, or invented it. I mean, there were 20 of us that created it, but we put the idea together, the two of us. And she really kind of became my, not mentor so much as introduced me to a concept that I introduce people to all the time, which is to build your personal board of directors. And I remember having breakfast with her one day, and she said, "Who's on your personal board of directors?" I'm like, "Well, you're the chair." And we just laughed, kind of thing. But throughout the last 10 or 15 years, I've been pretty actively making sure I've got different voices that I can turn to for different things in sort of my life. Like there's not one singular person I was ever sort of, I never reported to a strong woman. I only had two bosses, and I didn't get along particularly well with either one of them. So I never really had that single source. So it was kind of on me to put together a varied point of view group. And, you don't ever convene your personal board of directors. Right. It's just that idea that there are 6 or 8 people out there that you can go to for different things, or bouncing different ideas off them, or helping you think through a different decision, or bringing another perspective to something. And it's changed. It was much more work focused when I was still CEO of Critical Mass. I had different people from around the marketing communications industry. And now I would say it's quite different, and have relied more on, people that I've been closer to in different times of my life, as well as some of the new brilliant people I met at Harvard. Yeah. But it's kind of fun to look at that, to not realize that concept till 10 or 15 years ago, but really look at how you've kind of done that all along. Like, you've got this group that fluctuates, that is there for advice, or input, or lessons, or beers, whatever it might take.
What if you brought them together and none of them liked each other?
Yeah, well, that's entirely. I mean, when I think of who kind of my confidants are now, I'm thinking that would be the weirdest group in the world to put in the same room. I mean, they'd be like, "What? Yeah. Why are we here?" Yeah.
How about anybody that you've studied or admired from afar?
That's an interesting one. I would say we probably some of the leaders that have served us so well in the Norma Fund as investments, and these female CEOs. I mean, the one that comes to mind right away is Lisa Su, who's the CEO of AMD, which is quite usually known as like the other NVIDIA kind of thing, like next to NVIDIA. And I've been a giant Lisa Su and AMD fan for years and years and years, and fortunately I've invested in NVIDIA too, but and AMD's been one of the biggest drivers of the Norma Fund's performance over the last decade, and of my own for the last 20 years, 15, 18, 20 years. But she, it's funny, AMD was this company that was kind of always almost good, and then they couldn't quite get their crap together and pull it together, and they were constantly disappointing investors, and falling short, and needing to restructure, and having to apologize, and stock would go up and down, and then they finally put a chick in charge, and she had a vision. It was not a short-term thing. It was we need to do this, and we need to retool, and then we need to continue to retool, and kind of put forward this is quite a ways back, but this plan to just re-engineer for quality, and then for innovation, and the ability to continue driving quality and innovation, and be less driven by what's hot or what the competitor's doing, or what, and focus on themselves in it. They've, absolutely crushed Intel, who was the big beast that they were chasing after, and they're looking still pretty good today. And she's just quite a remarkable story. Certainly, there are no other big chip companies with a chick at the helm. So she's also a standout from that regard too.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. Some of the stories of some of the female CEOs in that in those big companies are really, really cool.
Mm-hmm. I've got 3 questions that kind of connected to Medicine Hat, not questions.
Sure.
So I think there is the house that you wanted, well, kind of the main house, I think,
Yep.
of you growing up in Medicine
Walk
Hat.
from here.
Yeah. There was the people who bought it from your mom and dad.
Mm-hmm.
A young girl gets your old room, grows up in here, and ends up moving to New York to work for a magazine.
For real?
Yeah, like Vogue or
That's
something
cool.
like that. And I can't remember her name.
There was it started with O. Their last name was like
Olejowski, I think.
Olejowski. Yeah, sure. I didn't know them when that's
I
funny.
I have a little goal in life to try. I have a mutual friend, someone who knows her.
Yeah.
I think she still lives in Manhattan, and I think this is just fascinating.
That's really cool.
2 people grew up inside the same room, and they go, so what about that space
well,
was motivating them?
You know what made it hardy enough coming out of that room to tackle New York City? The heat didn't work in that room. And I kept telling my parents, it's freezing in here. The heat didn't work. And they kind of didn't, but they just thought I was being whiny and whatever. And they'd walk in and it'd seem fine, but in the middle of the night, it'd be 90 below. And it was hot water heating in that house. And the pipes would, my dad would go in and bleed it every once in a while and try whatever. It just didn't work. And it was a friend of mine, a boyfriend of mine, that was house sitting for my parents when I was away at school, and my dad got appointed a judge and they moved to Calgary. And they had this guy live in the house in like February and March. And he admitted he was wearing giant mittens. He slept in my bed, and he was wearing giant mittens and a toque and like sweats and a sweatshirt or whatever. And finally told my parents, and that's the first time they believed that it really was cold and had someone come look at the heat. So I think maybe it was just that. It's just that.
That could be it.
And the temptation to climb out that window because it was onto a flat part of the roof, that there was a way down. And I never did it, not once. I looked at it, I thought about it, I wanted to break out many, many, many times, and I never did it. So maybe she mastered the sneak out. I don't know. She had more courage than me.
You said something at the start when we were talking about the motivation to leave hometowns, and then we talked about other places, and then Medicine Hat's identity, and you didn't say Forgotten Corner, though this place likes to call itself that.
Okay, really?
Yeah.
I haven't heard that.
Yeah. What advice would you have for Medicine Hat?
For the city?
Yeah. As a
oh gosh,
former resident, somebody who has still some connection to the community. You hear dribs and drabs.
Yeah, I don't feel qualified in any way to speak to that. I think there wasn't really a clear identity. I think it was oil and gas and farming and ranching and that kind of stuff. But that sort of I feel as the primary identity when I think of how other people think of Medicine Hat. And there's the teepee I was a kid when the teepee went in kind of thing, and hopefully that's not the identity of a city anymore, like a structure. I don't know.
Have you been like in your work, particularly in the advertising portion of that?
Yeah.
Have you worked with any communities that were trying to reinvent themselves, or?
Well, we rebranded Las Vegas, and that was worked with Vegas for about a decade. That what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Like that was all kind of us and their ad agency. I mean, what I would say, like to any client, but this doesn't really give me not really based on any insight of mine, but would be. What is really at the heart? Like if you're trying to come up with your personal brand or the brand of your running shoe line or whatever, what is it? What are your values? What's at the heart of what you're doing and why? And who's it for? Who's the consumer? I mean, what is the identity of Medicine Hat being developed for? Is it to attract investment? Is it to attract tourists? Is it to reassure the people that already live here? Is it that, and it's entirely possible you've got multiple constituents. Right. It's guaranteed that if there was a visual rebranding or any of that kind of thing, half the people would love it and half the people would hate it. And Calgary just rolled out the Blue Sky City and the new design and everything. And I happened to be back in Calgary for the last month or month and a half, right when it came out. And there was so much debate. I've had some ferocious debates about it. But it's trying to find that universal truth that isn't, I think it's more than an industry. It's certainly more than a building or a structure or whatever you want to call the TP. But there's an essence there that I think, when All Hell for a Basement kind of came out, there was this whole thing. And I think there's some really neat things that have happened in the Hat and businesses that have come up. And I think of the brewery, and then, the City Hall was so gorgeous. Then the Esplanade, and like there are these really cool things, but they're not necessarily. I don't know if there's a very
aligned or
aligned exactly. That's there's this cool development, and then there's this not cool development, and then there's this non-development, and I don't know if I don't actually know if any efforts have been made to sort of try and articulate a vision and an identity for the Hat, but. I would certainly start with values, and always start with values, and go from there.
Okay, last question. If you were to tell me to have a guest on this show to talk about Medicine Hat, identity, growing up in the Hat, who should I have?
Can I have more than one?
Sure.
I mean, I would. Might be a little hard with a TV format, but you should certainly talk to our mutual friend, Trevor Linden, at some point.
He was here like last week, 2 weeks ago.
You should have talked to him. You should have texted. I could have texted him.
Troy's son bumped into him at the pancake breakfast at the co-op.
Like
he just brought his kid to it.
He was coming back for Stampede. Yeah.
Like it wasn't an appearance or anything.
Yeah. No.
He was trying to hide.
His parents are here, right?
Yeah.
I would have him. There's a guy I went to high school with, or to school with for a long time, actually, who's in Canada's Foreign Service, who's a fascinating guy. Chris Duguid is his name, if you can track him down. But the one I think you could get that's like right here, that like all who know me from before shall be staggered at this now, because I'm very, very much on the other side of the spectrum. In fact, my dad ran against him, but I think you should interview Jim Horseman. Oh. There's got to be nobody more Medicine Hat than that guy. Certainly when I lived here, and I mean, he served this community for so long. Yeah. And would be a different generation than us too, that I think that'd be really fascinating. One. I'd listen to it.
Yeah, I was thinking about some people who would be seniors for sure. Yeah. And trying to capture some of their perspectives. I was thinking like someone like Brian Laidlaw or
right. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean.
Yeah.
Jim talked and worked for Medicine Hat specifically. Like, I don't think anybody's served that long ever since.
For sure.
So he would have probably some unbelievable stories and I think a well-earned point of view.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for doing this.
Thanks
with us, Di. Yeah.
Thanks for inviting me. This was fun.
I've even learned stuff.
Really? I'm trying to think what was new to you. But
you said breaking news at the start.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. That's true. Breaking news. Yeah, no idea what it means, but it sounds fancy.
Breaking news.
Yeah, cool. Well, thank you.
All right, thanks, Di. Motivation Local is produced by Table 4 Productions with the generous support of TELUS STORYHIVE. You can find our episodes on Optic TV, at our website, motivationlocal.com, on our YouTube channel, or wherever you get your podcasts. Our producer is Corey Sadlemyer. Our theme music was composed by Medicine Hat musical artist Snakes and the Riot. As always, thanks for watching or listening to our podcast. If you've enjoyed what you've heard here, don't hesitate to subscribe to our channel or to leave us some feedback.